She gave me the count, and I still might fuck it up.
Osiris, is that you?
Feel it, we feeling real it. 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 Hey.
My name is Sarah. I go by Osiris, and I am a DJ and producer. I'm from Los Angeles, and I make experimental bass and a little bit of hip hop, and I also try to combine them both to make my own sound. I also DJ, and I am almost 3 years sober, February 14th, and yeah.
Awesome. And so kind of diving in, how have opioids affected your life, whether it's you personally or the people around you?
So opioids have affected my life in multiple various ways. One of them being directly, from me and my use and addiction. I have overdosed in the past, so it is something that holds a lot of meaning to me and is taken very seriously to me. And, I try to do my best to spread awareness about it because it is, especially now with like all of the fentanyl lacing that is like happening like with all the drugs in the world and, people around me who still use and stuff. It's just really affected my life in a way that I never really thought, like starting when I was like starting to use and stuff. And, it's something that you don't really like think about when you're using is like, oh, like, are my drugs clean? Or like, am I going to be affected by this until it happens to you? So it's been really interesting to see like what effect it has on people now and recovering and getting sober and watching the people around me and like some of my loved ones like pass away from overdose or addiction or you know like stuff like that. So it's just like something that I just really like to like spread awareness about because a lot of people that I do know like still use and stuff and aren't the most careful. So having more knowledge about using and like the drugs that you're using is really important, especially if it's something that like if you have an addiction, like addicts know that it's not as easy as like, oh well, this is bad for me, I'm gonna stop, because if it was that easy, like everyone would be sober, so yeah, I mean, losing people is definitely something that I hate, and it's something that it really affects you as a person and the way you look at life and the way that you look at your loved ones. And I think that the more like awareness that we have around the topic of like fentanyl and opioid like and that sort of thing is really important in our community, especially.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me to why do you think harm reduction and something like end overdose is important to the music community in particular?
I think it's really important because not a lot of people in the community are doing what you guys are doing, which is spreading awareness about how serious it is. And, without end overdose, personally, I wouldn't have even known like half of the numbers that I do because of like the information that you guys share about like, overdose, like how it's progressed, and especially someone that's sober, like, I'm a huge part of like the like community of like sober people and like AA and stuff like that. And it's not something that even in those meetings they really talk about. And someone in like the music community, like being someone in the music community, just like having the awareness that it is all around you, and like it coming to an end isn't necessarily like um like like it stopping isn't exactly what is going to happen, as much as we all want it to stop and stuff like that. So I think it's important to at least know what's going on around you, and to have like test strips to make sure that if you are using, it's done in a safe way and you're not like harming yourself, you know, in that sort of sense. Like, you know, you're not like not in, like, I don't know how to explain this, but like at least by having like the Narcon strips, I feel like, and the knowledge of like learning how to observe a situation for someone that is overdosing, and like being able to know and recognize that and have the knowledge to like possibly prevent it from happening is like such a huge thing that I personally believe that the music community really needs, because, you know, going to a show, like especially for like EDM and stuff, like I just feel like, you know, drugs and alcohol are like a big part of that community, as well as the music, of course. But, you know, it's something that it just like there's not enough awareness around it, you know? And like being able to like take the chorus for End Overdose and like learn like how to fix or like help a situation in a time of need is just like really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a good point that sometimes as sober people we can get insulated and forget like how much use is still happening.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I rap. Hey. Got the bass in this.
So what message would you send to someone in the music scene and the art scene in general who's either struggling with opioids or knows someone who is struggling with it?
I think the message that I would send would be to just kind of talk to people. You know, if you don't know what to do yourself, because like knowing someone who's an addict or an alcoholic and being like a normie is what we call them in AA. Sometimes it's really hard to understand what they're going through and like how to help them. You know, it's hard to find resources when you're not that knowledgeable about the situation. So I think reaching out to someone like maybe you guys, or, you know, going to like an AA meeting, or, you know, reaching out to, you know, anyone that you know that's struggled with that is going to be like your best friend when trying to help someone else. Just because it's really hard to like try to help someone if you don't really know like what they're going through. And as someone who's maybe like a normie and like doesn't consider themselves like an alcoholic or an addict, I think at times they don't really understand like what our brain does differently than theirs, and like for them, like they could easily have a drink, you know, and then put it down, and then for like 2 weeks, you know, they don't drink. But like for someone who's struggling with addiction and alcoholism, we have like this missing link in our brain, and when we touch a hot stove, it hurts, but then we keep going back to touch it, you know? And that's like the best way that I could describe like addiction and alcoholism, is like that link in our brain that like normal people have, like when drinking, they're like, ooh, like I'm good, you know, for like a month or 2 months or however long they go. Like we're like, ooh, okay, tomorrow, like it's a new day, it's fine, you know, like let's just do it again and again and again. And eventually it's like draining and like exhausting, and it's really hard. And like as an alcoholic and an addict, like trying to get sober, like sometimes you don't even know what to do or like how to resolve your situation. So I think if you're struggling, you know, like you can even reach out to me, like go to like an AA meeting, or like find resources. There's so many online, and you know, just like talk to people, you know. Sometimes talking to a stranger, like it sounds crazy because like you would think going to your friends or like a family member or something because you feel comfortable around them is going to be like the best thing. But sometimes just talking to someone who you can relate with that you don't know, like is the best thing that you could do. And that's what helped me, you know, like I was just like uncomfortable and vulnerable, and it was really hard and really scary, and like I was such a introvert, so getting out of that is, you know, sometimes really hard. But, you know, finding the courage to reach out to someone, and just like get outside opinions, you know, from an alcoholic or an addict, you know, and being able to relate with someone on the basis that you guys don't know what to do anymore, you know, is like sometimes like the best, you know.
And kind of as a broad picture question to wrap it up, what does the prospect of ending overdose mean to you?
I think it means a lot of things, especially, you know, like I was saying earlier, like you never know when you're gonna lose someone, and when you do, it's like one of the most painful things that you could possibly go through. Like, what if that last message was something else, or like what if you just called them that day or something like that, you know? And I think ending overdose will just like help relieve a lot of pain from our community that we go through, like losing artists, and like, you know, there's so many artists in the music industry that don't know how to get help, and that's what leads them to, you know, maybe overdosing, or like not like feeling comfortable enough to go to someone to reach out and like find help for themselves, because sometimes they might not even identify themselves as an addict or an alcoholic, because like it's really hard to, you know, accept that there's a problem, you know, or there's something wrong with like your situation, or like, you know, for me it was hard to even come to the realization that like I was an alcoholic and an addict, because, you know, it was just so normal. Like all the people I were with like were drinking and using every day. So like for me it was just like normal. Like we were just like, yeah, party on the weekends, and then Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays, you know? And I think like ending overdose is like just gonna strengthen like us as a community, and like also spread so much more awareness to people who aren't aware of like how serious it is like in the world, like every single day. Like I think there was something that you guys posted that was like 150 people are dying a day or something like that, which is crazy, you know, like that is so sad. And like, you know, anything sorry anything that like you can do to like spread awareness is going to like help end overdose, you know. So like just reposting something that you see online, or, you know, like talking to someone just to gain more awareness or information about the subject, like I think that is a good start, you know, for like someone who might not be that knowledgeable about you know, overdose and opioids, or like fentanyl and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. And is there anything else you want to add or talk about?
You know, I think just like retouching on the fact that like there is a problem in the world with like this, you know, lace of fentanyl and opioid addiction and stuff like that, and like make sure to like reach out to your friends like every day, or like as much as you can, and just like check in on them, you know, because someone could be having a really rough day, you know, and just by you reaching out to them and being like, hey, I love you, you know, you're amazing, like it's little things like that that like really help go a long way, especially for like people that are struggling with like not only alcoholism or addiction, but like mental health problems as well. So I think just like checking in on each other is gonna like really strengthen our community as well, and just like being aware of like your surroundings, and like if you see something, like, you know, don't just sit there and be quiet about it, like try to reach out to someone around you and try to like help the situation, you know. So yeah, that's all.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for talking and sharing your
Yeah.
experience. And
Thank you for having me. Like super excited about what you guys are doing, and I just like think it's going to make a huge impact on the community, as it is already.
cool. Thank you again.
Mm-hmm.